Your question is my comment about lamenting injustice that's being faced. And, is lament really the right thing, or is jumping in and trying to fix it really the right thing? And I think we have to back up and understand structural issues, structural injustice, and the identity of different people that experience realities differently than we do. And then we understand the role of lament, right? So I had a really close friend who was Native American. Now, Native American, if you go back, and most of us don't really understand that history other than cowboys and Indians, right? But you can study it in Canada, you can study it in the States. Some of the early missionaries were very indigenously sympathetic. They wanted to bring Christ to Native Americans, just like Paul wanted to bring Christ to Gentiles. And Paul's saying, I don't need you to become circumcised to find Christ. As a Gentile, I want you to find Christ. And so some of the early missionaries to Native Americans were very much the same way. Like, you're Native American. You have this culture, and it's a beautiful culture. That's wonderful. Here's Christ and his message of salvation for you. And that got replaced by a movement that lasted a very long time, where the missionaries came and had adopted a very Western philosophy that said, everything native is bad. We have to first make you Western, and then you can find Christ in that. Does that make sense? So, kill the Indian, save the man was the mantra. And they began to get so intensely focused on this that they began to take children out of homes. And they used the church to do this. The policies did. Catholic schools and other kind of schools set up to forcefully remove children from families, send them to boarding schools where they would teach them English, cut their hair, teach them English only, rename them with Christian names, and basically try to sterilize the environment so that none of the native culture would carry over, all with this idea that we were being very generous and charitable by bringing a higher culture or Christendom to these native people. And we can talk about the Aborigines in Australia and all sorts of things. And it's hard to separate out what was being done through the systems and the structures and being done with a Christian intent. Those two things were really interconnected. And so you have people who care about their culture, okay, their tribe, their ethnic grouping, and they see instances of suicide and depression and alcoholism and broken marriages and families that are just broken generationally. But they also see how that brokenness didn't just come out of nowhere, that there was all sorts of things at play on the reservation that have really damaged those communities. Going all the way back to putting them in reservations in the first place and saying, we're going to put you on a subsidy. We all know that the most dignifying thing you can do for a person is give them a job. And so the Native American communities were literally turned into welfare states originally. And that's only a couple generations old. So this is the history, and we don't need to get into the politics. I'm just saying it's a messy history, right? And so taking the question again, so I see the brokenness and the pain of my friend and his community, right? I can't jump in and fix it. How can I fix all that? I can't. And if I do, if I jump in and think that me, little old me, can just fix that, I'm somehow doing a huge injustice to the pain. I'm not dignifying the fullness of that pain or that experience. And so just like with death, if I come into somebody and say, if you just read this book, it'll fix you. You know, that you lost your son, that your son died. I'm going to help fix that pain by just giving you this book, if you just understood the Christian answer. And we all know that, man, there'd be something so wrong about that. So what do we do with the person that's grieving? We come alongside and we sit. and we say, you know what, you want to go to the movies? I'll go sit in the movies with you. If that's going to be where you can just escape for an hour or two, I'll do it. Want me to go buy you a pack of cigarettes? I'll go buy you a pack of cigarettes. I mean, that's a big taboo, right, in the Christian world, like cigarettes? It's like sin. It's like, no, if this person used to smoke, still smokes, every once in a while smokes, and that's what they want right now, and they just lost their son, guess what? I'm going to go buy them a pack of cigarettes, right? We do that with that grief. When we're talking about injustice, like the instance I brought up about a court ruling with the death of a young African-American male who was shot in a car that was shot into because a white upper-class male got into an argument with them at a gas station because their radio was playing loud rap music. And then he fired off, I think, 6 shots into the car, right? How do I fix that? How do I fix my friend who has 3 sons, all between the age of 18 and I think 30, and the likelihood of them going to prison compared to young white boys is unfathomable, the difference. How do I fix that? I might be able to give my life to trying to fix that and make some small changes. But right here, right now, I can't fix that. In fact, I don't even really understand that. I can intellectualize it, but I haven't grown up as a black man in America. I got pulled over when I was a college pastor at Whittier Hills. First college event I went to, we went into Hollywood to the Improv. We came back from the Improv, and it was like 2 a.m, and if I eat wrong things, I get really red eyes, and I got pulled over. And the gal came to the window, and she asked if I'd been drinking. I said, no, I'm actually a seminary student. I'm a college pastor. We're coming home. I haven't been drinking. She looked at my eyes again, looked at the people in the car, and she said, okay, Mr. Weitzma, but you better hurry up and get home because you look really tired, okay? I have a friend, Michael McBride, who in the Oakland area was a youth pastor, and he got pulled over by some white policemen, and he said, I'm a youth pastor. What do you need me to do? I'm a pastor. I'm more than happy to help you. They took him out of the car, they threw him against the hood of the car, and then they sexually assaulted him. What's the difference? The difference is the color of my skin. That's called white privilege. It's something I was blind to most of my life. Because when you're in the current, in the middle of a stream, you don't know that you are, but you are. Why did he get treated the way he did, even though he was a pastor, and I got treated the way I did? Because he was an African-American man in a community where the system is set up that African-American men can be treated a certain way without the whole country turning into an uproar. I can't fully understand what it's like to grow up in America as a black man. But when I have friends who are black men and they grieve instances that kind of demonstrate that the thing isn't really set up fairly, or that this culture still has racist tendencies or sees through colored lenses, I can't go in and fix that. But like a grieving parent who lost a child, I can go in and I can sit and I can listen and I can empathize and I can lament and dignify my friend or the person or the other in that situation, because injustice, we're never going to fully get rid of it, but it's not the way it's supposed to be. And so I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. We don't want to be complicit with injustice. We want to fix injustice, but we have to be careful that we don't think we single-handedly in the moment can fix everybody's problems or make the pain of the past kind of go away. So that's what I mean by lament. We sit in there and we lament. We can chase that a little further, or we can go a new direction, whichever we want.